power of love, the power of love. Come and listen to the stories that change the way that you see, the things that you hear will help you to feel empowered every day.
Hello and welcome to The Power of Love, exploring the most powerful force on earth. I'm Mia Saenz, and today's guest, I've had the privilege of, she's one of my newer people that I've gotten to meet, and I met her through Ariel Ford, which is one of our other speakers, Sarika Jain. And she's really a lovely woman who teaches love and soulmate love. So welcome. It's wonderful to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited that you're doing this.
Yeah, it's really a wonderful way to keep passing on love and ideas and creation and things like that. Really lovely. Mm-hmm. I've been doing this, as you and I were talking, for 15 years, and I still love it. So it's great. I'd like to ask you, which is the first question that I've been asking everybody, what is love to you?
I know you asked me this earlier, and for me, love it's so elusive as an idea. Mm-hmm. It's everything and nothing all at once. And, I'll just share really briefly. I had a really powerful experience when I was doing Vipassana, which is a 10-day silent meditation program. And during the 4th or 5th day while I was there, I just watched, I watched my ego die. I had like a panic attack, and then I got engulfed with blackness. I thought I was passing out. I thought I was dying. And then what emerged was love. Like I found that I am actually love. And that is my purpose for being here. Like I just felt it. It was a radiance that just like I felt christened in that moment. Mm-hmm. And yeah. And so I can't explain what love is, although it is the work that I do. My work is around soulmate love and helping women release their obstacles to love so that they can be their most loving selves and attract a healthy, loving, lasting relationship. But it really is everything and nothing. It's a feeling, it's a state of being, it's a consciousness, it's your actions, it's an integrity of your thoughts, words, and actions. It's how you live, and it's an intention. Love is an intention. It's an energetic field. It's a force. It's a force that can actually move through you like a life force and, release and heal, release what no longer needs to be there and heal. And so, yeah, I just venerate the power of love.
I love that. And the feeling that you described when it overcame you after the darkness, right? That's a state of grace, isn't it? Which I love, the high vibrational divinity that we seek throughout life is that ego-less, so to more or less. And as humans, it comes and goes, the ego, and we keep getting rid of it. But that's a really beautiful space that you went into, and not very many people talk about it. And that's the state of grace that I work on living every day. That's our end all be all. And let me tell you, it never ends, and it's never the be all, because humanity steps in and we're just like, wait a second, I want back to that amazing space. So in this 10-day retreat that you had, this meditation space, you couldn't talk at all. Correct?
No talking. I mean, I could talk to the mentor or the teacher if I needed to, but absolutely, you have to abstain from reading anything, writing anything, talking. And it was just all about being with yourself, being with your thoughts. And that's, I mean, being with your thoughts. I think thoughts are what take us away from love, right? Because our thoughts are frantic and paranoid and fear-based. Until
they're not, right?
Until you learn, right, the tools to help calm yourself down and actually learn how to love yourself through your thoughts. Mm-hmm. But for the untrained mind, it's like, it is what I think, a lot of us live up here in our heads without realizing it. We live a narrative about our life. And so that's what causes us the unhappiness, the separation. So yeah, so yeah, going back to, it was silence, and in that silence, I could see everything, all my darkness, all my demons, all my thoughts, all my narratives. And then that started to dissipate. And when all of that dissipated, the truth could emerge. And that truth was that grace. It was that love. It was like, I'm love. Like, that's all there is,
Yeah.
you know, and my purpose here is to love. Like, it was so crystal clear to me. And so, and then after I had that reckoning, that I felt like it was like an awakening or a christening of some sort, then I looked at all my primary relationships. It just came to me. I was like, I'm here to heal my relationships with my mother, my father, my sisters, my husband. At that time, I was pregnant with my first child. So it was, I didn't even think of other people. I just thought about my primary relationships. And it really did feel like it was like the last 10 days of my life, you know, like when you're about to die and you have 10 days of, or, you know, a period of time when you're like about to leave the earth plane, and you're just thinking about, you know, life and like how you led your life, and, you know, your primary relationships. And that's what it felt like. And not just for me, for everyone who attended, they felt like, oh my God, like I'm disconnected from the outside world. My ego is dying. And so, you know, you're kind of looking at like, what kind of life are you leading? What's your intention? What's your truth? And so, yeah, I got to see like what were my obstacles to love for each of my relationships. And it was so clear to me. So, yeah, it's like there's a disconnection between being that love and that grace, and then your obstacles to love, right? Because they are there. That's the human side of us.
So powerful, that journey that you went on. And the reason I'm asking you these questions is because most people are not brave enough to take that journey. And so those who do, however they do, you know, it may not be a 10-day silence meditation. It may be 20 years of self-introspection. It sounds like you got it kicked in really fast, you know? So whatever way, it's the most fantastic experience that a human can have. That's the depth of love. On the preview of this show, and even in the opening, you see a woman looking out of a cave that's actually in the form of a heart, a natural. And so when you think about it, that is you, or, you know, the individual within the space of love and looking out. It's just incredible. Your story and that image are so solidified for me, because that was an incredible experience, especially after day 4, when you want to pull out your hair and go running and screaming when it's dark.
Yes.
It's where you discover who you actually are, right? The depth of the love that you have. It's not just the human survival, but it's the soul's experience that the soul is asking and has asked you. And that's why you were incarnated here. So that's a really incredible experience. Have you written about that experience? I have so much to talk to you off air.
Well, you know, that was it was one of my, I have written a blog post on it, you know, but it has been a defining experience for me. And anytime that I'm like scared, or, you know, I mean, I've had many moments since then of like dark nights of the soul and all of that.
I was going to say, that did sound like a dark night of the soul.
It did. Yeah, it was like a dark night of the soul. It really was. It did feel like that. And so every time I have that, I have to be reminded of that experience, because, you know, it's almost like you have that experience. It's like a near-death experience, but you have to have it imprinted on you, on your psyche, on your, you know, and you develop all these tools to help soothe yourself. And, you know, like what you were talking about, your 3-step program, right? It's like learning how to calm your nervous system, how to like, you know, emotionally take care of yourself. Like, so then there's all the tools that help you get back to that state.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Really, really beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And you also have a book out about the 90 days soulmate plan.
Yes. Here is the book. I just published it a few months ago, actually, at the same time as my 3rd baby. So
wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. Share a little bit about the book with us.
Yeah. So actually, I started coaching in love like 15 years ago as a side gig. I was working on Wall Street as a consultant. And so then on the side, I would be I was dating myself. I mean, I was dating men. And
Yeah.
then I was also starting to coach women in dating. And so I had some success with it, and I met a wonderful guy and we got engaged. And then a month after we got engaged, he broke up with me.
Mm.
And he told me that, I was too controlling. He couldn't trust me. I kept people at a distance from myself, like all these things that I didn't know about myself, how I was sabotaging my own relationship. So even though I was a dating coach, or a love coach, I was still like sabotaging my love life.
Mhm.
And so I had a dark night of the soul then. I wanted to end my life. And that night, a voice came from my heart that said, I need spiritual healing.
Mm.
And I didn't know what that was. So then the very next day, I was walking around in New York City like a zombie, and I saw a sign that said psychic readings. And I'd never walked into one of those shops. And I met this gypsy woman, Romanian gypsy psychic, and she read my energy field and she said my heart was blocked, my sacral chakra was blocked, and that if I didn't recover from this broken relationship, then I would keep attracting the same patterns over and over in my life.
Mm.
And that's what jump-started my journey of
You decided to look at that. Yeah.
Yes, I was like, all right, I can't do this anymore. I'm done with heartbreak. I'm done with the pain. And normally I would just go to drinking or smoking if, when my heart was broken, but this time I needed to do something different, and so that's what I did. I jumped into a transformative process of looking at all my blocks around love. And it really started with self-love, learning to really love myself, because I was struggling with a deep sense of unworthiness. Like,
Mhm.
and it's unworthiness is something that's always been with me. It'll always be there with me, probably, because it's like a gift. It's both a wound and a gift. It's like, it's what focuses me. It helps me like go deeper into my, wounds around love, and, but learn to love myself, really. And in that process, I met my husband 90 days later, which is why I call it the 90-day soulmate plan. I met him actually in a meditation group, and he was looking at me from across the room, and he was sending me vibes. He was like, "You are my queen. You are my queen."
Oh.
I know. And he had learned it at a Tony Robbins kind of
Mhm.
experience. And so,
Felt him.
I'm sorry.
And you felt him.
And
Like,
I did. I felt like these vibes coming at me, and I was like, who is this guy? And so I went up and talked to him afterwards, and I invited him out for a walk, and then I invited him out for a first date. Like, and it just came from within. Like, it was not like, oh, I want to date this guy. It was just like I was intuitively drawn to connecting with him.
and
And
it
that's what,
felt like
yeah,
it was easy, right? And
it
that,
did.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it felt a lot easier, but I will say I did have blocks come up even with him. Like, I felt commitment blocks, and like there were a lot of moments when I didn't trust myself, and so um yeah, so sometimes I find that even when we are on our path to love and everything seems easy and flowing, you still have your wounds come up to be healed,
That's
even
really,
while you're moving into commitment. So
yeah, yeah. It's interesting because due to how we were raised, right, on this planet, and so it's not just how we're raised, it's the location, it's the culture, it's the things that are said to us, it's the religious beliefs, if we're
Mhm.
allowed to just be free. And
Sure.
all of that makes us so incredibly unique and also incredibly dysfunctional because of all the other stuff that is
Mhm.
ours that was brought out. So going through and shifting and creating, like this book, the 90-day soulmate plan, it works differently. Even though it's the same, it's going to affect each person differently and uniquely. And that's one of the beautiful things I love about love, is that
Mhm.
as people start to crack through their stuff, I was going to say crap, but as people start to crack through their stuff, literally this light shines, and then they start to follow that light. They
Yeah.
don't even know what it is, but it's the beginnings of self-love. reflective love outward to the community, soulmate love, right? Or connected with your partner. It's really beautiful. I'm a huge proponent of love. I just love it in all ways. On my journey, I just have to share, I started really young because I lived in a house of dysfunction, even metaphysical. So it was really a weird dichotomy. You had this strict, thought process, and then you had a mother that was literally insane. She was medically wise, and so creating all this havoc. So it was just, when I hear other people talk about love and not feeling the worthiness, we always think about our own experience, right? Because we're an experiential planet. And so it's so unique. So thank you for sharing that, because it allows us to see two things: one that's similar to us, and then what it would look like being somebody else, right?
Totally. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So the 90-day plan, we know that you created it and you met your husband. Are there a few things that you'd like to share with us about it? Because it sounds fascinating.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of an inside out approach to finding love. It's about, really returning to your true divine feminine essence. So there is an essence around reclaiming your feminine power, because that was one thing that I'd lost in my journey of, becoming an adult. I'd become so used to being in the corporate world and, dating from a very masculine perspective. And so reclaiming that feminine side of myself, but then also learning all the different ways to love myself, and then dating mindfully and intuitively, bringing back this idea that, you can date from a place of personal growth. Look at each partner that you're, attracting, each guy that you go on a date with, like, what is it bringing up for you? And then how can you date from a place of joyfulness and self-awareness? And I guess those are some highlights of this process. But yeah, just bringing back self-love whenever you can. Take a breath and look at all your old wounds, your shadows. And this is something that's going to be helpful for you for every part of your life, for becoming better, with your relationships, with your family, with your colleagues, manifesting better jobs, attracting more abundance, and of course, creating that life that you want to live with your partner, right? Like, I think a lot of us just unconsciously move through relationships, and, we get married and then we have kids. At least, that would have been my path, and without any self-awareness. And I think that just leads to more dysfunction. And that's what we're used to. Like 90% of the planet is used to dysfunction. Like, we've been programmed in it, like you said. And if you want something different, then you have to choose a different path. And this book is one such path.
I love that. That's really beautiful. So it sounds like there's a bunch of, do you have written meditations, or do you send them to meditations? Just a bit more about your book, because I want people to buy it because it sounds really
fun. Thank you. Yes, this book has meditations and rituals written out. So it's filled with rituals, but then also I have certain guided meditations that I've recorded. So it's offered as a free resource through the book. I've also been creating like a book club. So basically what you can do is you can go on my website and then you can sign up for the book club. And every week I send you like me reading the book and sharing my personal thoughts on it, just kind of like an accompaniment for while you're doing this book, so you don't feel alone. And and then I have a team of coaches, actually. So women who've actually done this work themselves and are coaches and therapists themselves. And so I have a whole team of women coaches that are here to help people through this process too. And what's great is you can manifest your soulmate quickly if you move into alignment. And that's what this is about. I think that's the power of love, right? It helps you move into alignment with what is healthy for you. You just have to want that. You have to desire healthy love to enter your life. And then the universe kind of conspires for you to make it happen.
You know, on the path of love, or I've also been known as a self-love teacher for years, because when you teach love, we all are, right? It's really about getting to the roots of it. So in that space where people struggle because they either can't find their commitment or, well, I was going to say their love space, it really is about getting back into the place of love, isn't it? In order to complete, acquire, move through the area that's hardest for you.
Yeah.
Have any insight that you could share with those? Because I see so many people, you know, in group classes and things like that, talking about they're feeling on track and then they're not. And so it's a frustrating place, you know, as a coach, it's frustrating because you're like, do it, you know, you're gonna get there. But you know, that's not always helpful to everybody, because some people are like, you do it, you know. So can you give a little bit of insight and talk about that?
Sure. So one thing is, I like to think about like the mindset needed for transformation, and it's for the three parts of your brain to get what they need. So your front part of the brain needs to feel like it belongs. The mammalian part of your brain needs to feel like it's loved. And then the reptilian part of your brain needs to feel like it's safe. So at all times, you need to kind of provide that for yourself. So one way I do it is I say, okay, even if I'm feeling lost, confused, heartbroken, whatever, I love, accept, and forgive myself. And I really allow myself to feel it, you know, and I use this mantra all the time because yeah, I'm out of alignment. I don't know, like 10 times a day, not out of alignment, but I do feel.
I know what you mean. You got to get back into it. Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you get back into it? So one way to get back into it is just by offering your brain, the three parts of your brain, what it needs. And, you know, practicing tools like soothing yourself. I mean, I learned this from Buddhist monastics who are like, you know, you have to love yourself. You have to take care of yourself like you're your own inner child, like you're your own child. And treat yourself, you know, but really taking care of that inner child of yours, that, you know, the three parts of your brain, so that you can move into that frequency of love, you know. And then, you know, I think that is the goal, is to be in that frequency of love. Like there's that pyramid, you know, the Dawkins scale of consciousness. And, you know, you have fear and anger and greed and all of that on the bottom, you know, on the bottom of the pyramid. But then when you move up, you have, you know, courage, you have neutrality, and then you have neutrality, then courage, and then you have love. And then above love, you have joy, peace, and enlightenment. And so when you move up that pyramid, then you start vibrating at higher and higher frequencies, and you can attract, that's what you're attracting into your life, is where you're at on that pyramid. So if you find yourself constantly stuck in the lower part, like anger, shame, guilt, all of that, which I feel like a lot of our society programs us to being in.
I think 90% of humanity is in that place.
Right, right. But you need to lift yourself up. So you need to be in the courage zone, be courageous, like do something, like you said, do it. You know, you have to take that leap of faith, because that leap of faith is what's going to take you into that heart zone, because that's what love is. Love is unreasonable. It requires courage. It requires you to have faith, take leaps of faith into the unknown, so that you can experience love, you know, soulmate love. That, yeah. So I don't know. I hope that was kind of.
It's almost non-traditional love is, and unconditional, isn't it? It has to fully be in that space beyond what our fairy tales have told us.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. It's really incredible, because as you, like you said, as you get back, you know, you discover that place and you get there. What we also, I feel we really need to focus on is recall, because we've experienced it once. We can recall that energy back, but it is a practice, isn't it?
Yes.
And then also keeping it more together rather than spaced apart, because whenever there's a spacing apart, we forget.
Yeah.
We can't really bring it. So that's why the practice of love is so important.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's builds on in your book, right? It's like you do this here and then you repeat it and you add this.
Yes.
Love this way. And yeah, that's really beautiful. Really, really.
Yeah. And just creating a whole new habit patterns around love, like how you're thinking, what you're saying, what you're doing, right? Those are micro shifts that you're taking in order to align yourself with love, and make sure that every action, every thought of yours is loving,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. And I wish more of humanity actually did that. And let's hope that they do. Everybody's like, oh, we're waking up. We're waking up. There's a false awakening on our planet. There's this political awakening, which has nothing to do with love. There's a medical awakening, which has nothing to do with love. If everything was based in the foundation of love, like the political awakening, if it was for the betterment, truly the betterment of humanity and not of individual people, right? So if you think about humanity as a whole in love, instead of one individual person gaining something different, and same with the medical thing, right? It's not about the money, it's about saving humanity, rising up humanity, healing humanity. Anyways, it's all interwoven as a blanket, right? And
I think it's emerging. I mean, I see it as a grassroots movement, the sovereignty movement, people learning to love themselves and, like reclaiming that sovereignty for themselves. And even, politically, it's like, once you realize I think self-determination and sovereignty are part of this path of love, because you're like, when you wake up, you're like, wow, I need to really love myself, and I need the systems to support me in loving myself. And I'm going to,
that's more what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about an individual's political awareness or sense. I'm talking about the higher ups that say this is the way it is. And it's the way it is. It has nothing to do with love.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think we're living in an inverted reality. Yeah, we're living in an inverted reality where it's like greed and corruption rule. And then I think it's going to flip. That's why I think the power of love is so powerful. I believe that. I for that, at least.
Yeah. I've always thought that from day one of coaching, my thing was, if we can teach individual love, so self-love, into spiritual love, into soulful awareness, one soul is not going to want to hurt another soul's journey, and they're going to respect it so much because they respect their own. That's where we're going to be completely different. But then again, that's where we'll be a total conscious planet instead of Earth, right? Where we do both. And fight the good fight, everybody. Keep doing it. Keep growing yourself. Keep moving through it. Get this 90-day soulmate plan. I also, as you were talking, I was thinking, wow, that would be a really good plan for somebody to just utilize, period, to up-level their experience so they become soulfully aware and connect. And of course, the goal would be to connect easier with the partner. But it sounds like, and I'm just picking up off of the energy of it, but it sounds like it would be, or feels like it would be, a really powerful experience. So I love that. Wonderful.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
That's my goal. I feel like we're on the same page in terms of our prayer for the world. So
absolutely. Yeah. And how can people reach you?
Yeah,
be in the credits at the end, everybody. So
you can just go to my website, www.sarikajain.com. And I have articles. I have a love magnet quiz. So it's a quiz that allows you to see where you are in terms of what patterns, what types of men you're attracting. And you also get to know what your Indian goddess archetype is based on it. So that's there. And then a link to my book and my coaching practice. So I look forward to being connected.
Are you still in the United States, or are you in England now?
Yeah, I live in Princeton. Yeah, I live in New Jersey.
Okay. Yes. I don't know why I thought you were in England for some reason. And also when she's talking about Indian, she's talking about East Indian.
Yes, I'm talking about Hindu goddesses.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So
a lot of Americans think of the native people.
Right. That's right. That's right.
share that, because both of them are very cool. You know, it's
Yeah.
cool. So, all right, wonderful. I want to ask you, what is on your heart and mind that you want to leave everybody with?
Yeah, it's always choose love, right? Every moment you get, just think I am loving awareness. I mean, that's a practice that someone told me recently, and I was like, I'm just going to do that. You know, whenever you're feeling lost or confused or angry or anything, just come back and bring your attention to your heart and breathe and just say, I'm loving awareness. I am loving awareness. And letting that state of being guide you.
It's beautiful. And I love how affirmations done mantra can really shift and change who
Yeah.
you are, right? You have to feel it and you have to repeat it so that you can,
Yeah.
it can become you. You have to believe it and change those neural pathways so that they recreate the new patterns that I am love. That's really beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank
Thank
you.
you for joining us. It was lovely to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm super excited to listen to the interviews in the series.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.
Yeah. Thank you.